The only matter of concern to a wise and philosophic individual is the things completely under your control. You can't control the movements of the sun and the planets. You can't control whether a leaky ship sinks or makes it to port. You can't control the weather. You can't control other people. You can't control the society around you. There's only one thing, and one thing only, that you are in control of, and that is you. Your will, your intentions, yourself.
So that's just a segment from Michael Seguru's lecture on Stoicism, which I will provide a link to in the description below. For those of you who are interested in Stoicism, I highly recommend that you watch it. It's a great lecture. It's probably one of the best lectures that I've come across about Stoicism. In today's video, I'll be talking about Stoicism. No, not that kind of Stoicism. I'm talking about the philosophy that teaches that virtue is the only good. Ultimately, it's a philosophy about control. That in life, there are things in your control and things that are not in your control. What happens to us, we cannot control. But what we do in response to what happens to us, we can control. So how can we apply Stoicism to startups? How can we apply this philosophy of controlling what we can control and forgetting about what we can't control to building a startup? When you're building a startup, a lot of things will go wrong. Your founder might quit. Your users might leave for no reason at all. Your marketing might fall through. Your funding might fall through. A lot of things can happen that are simply out of your control. External circumstances can change even when you're doing the right things. I once had a founder quit, and he quit because he felt like his technical skill set simply didn't match up to my requirements. He felt like, and I do thank him for this because he was self-aware enough to realize this, he felt like he couldn't fend off competitors once we had a product launched. Now that was a huge blow for me. It was my first project and I was still very enthusiastic and very, I guess, ignorant of the potential obstacles that could come my way, that do come your way when you're building a startup. Now, looking back, could I have controlled what my CTO did? Could I have controlled how skilled he was when I recruited him? No. Could I have controlled his choice to leave? No. And that's the point. You can't control other people's choices. You can only control your own. So there was really nothing I could do. At the end of the day, I had two choices: dwell on what had happened or just move on. Now I know what you're thinking, but Jason, you don't understand. I spent all this time recruiting this founder. I spent all this time building this product. Now no one wants to use my product. My founder is leaving. What do? I have these feelings. I can't just suppress these feelings, right? But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not telling you to suppress your feelings. I'm not telling you to disregard your feelings. Emotions you will feel naturally. And that is because you're a human being. You will instinctively and naturally feel distraught, disappointed when things go wrong when you're building your startup. Humans feel emotions. But that doesn't mean that you have to let these emotions motivate or discourage you. If how you feel doesn't really influence your actions, then those emotions don't really matter. The point is to understand that when something goes wrong, that's an external circumstance that you cannot control. But what you can control is your response to that negative situation, to that adverse circumstance. What you can control is how you act. And action does not have to be driven by how you feel. It's great when you feel good. You feel all motivated, all pumped up. That's when action is easy. But when you don't, are you still motivated to act? Probably not. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You can still act even if you don't feel good, even if you don't feel the emotions that you think you should feel in order to act effectively and make progress on your startup. I used to struggle with this at the start. I thought I had to feel good about everything in order to act. And it was only after failing multiple times, encountering so many adverse situations, and then dwelling on them instead of acting to move forward, and then realizing how much time I had actually wasted, did I realize that you could still make progress even in face of adverse circumstances and in face of negative emotions. There were times when I had to work through these situations. I had to act effectively even though I didn't feel like it, because I simply had no choice. And that was when I realized that there was simply no link between how you feel and how you act, because feelings you feel naturally, but choices you make intentionally and proactively. And your intentions cannot be harmed by your emotions if you don't let them get harmed by your emotions. Action ultimately comes down to choice. Emotions you feel naturally, and emotions you cannot control, but how you act you can control. So here's something to think about. Do you ever let your feelings influence your actions? Do you ever let your emotions guide what you do every single day? Do you rely heavily on motivation? If so, leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd love to talk more about this and talk more about how I overcame, I would say, barrier to progress, which was thinking that emotions had to guide my actions. And with that, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.